I usually didn't wake up to see the sun rising over the Atlantic. I preferred to wait, make breakfast, and have some coffee before making my way down there. I'd let the rest of them go to the beach so I could have a cigarette alone on the back porch. After all, it was vacation, and I didn't want to have to wake up early for anything. And I never smoked in front of them. There wasn't any one thing I liked about going to the beach. It was all of it. The whole experience. Making my list, packing too much. We would take breaks on the 8 hours down to grab snacks, and with so many kids, someone always had to use the bathroom. We'd have lunch in the brewery on the day we arrived. Evening walks with the family along the beach. We'd shop at souvenir shops and pick up hermit crabs for the grandchildren. But most of the time, the hours passed by the waterfront or in the beach house. The last several years, we had stayed in the Ruby Reef, right around milepost 10.5. Though, after I had gone, they found a smaller house past milepost 16, where the road diverges. In the evening, when the sun wasn't as harsh, our walks would send us in search of the summer boys, the ocean birds, pelicans, seagulls. The kids would try to dig up the crabs and watch them scurry across the wet sand before burying themselves again. One of the great things about Nag's Head is the space. There's space for the family to spread out and enjoy the sand. You can see your feet in the water, sometimes even when you're up to your neck. If I had known, I would have gone more in the water that year, wouldn't have hung back, even though I felt tired. If I had known, I would have done a lot of things differently. But I suppose we all say that. You always know on a low level, but you push it back, push it away from you, put it off until tomorrow and tomorrow. Life gets the better of you. Life and that swift progression of time. I remember the first time I knew it would happen. I was 14. It happened here, around this spot, just over the sand dune. I remember walking along the waterfront and turning around. It was such a small moment. A wave rolled in and over my footprints, which had left wet impressions in the sand. As the wave receded, the footprints had vanished. It wasn't even much of a wave, more like the frothy residue that comes from a choppy day. There was a small inclination that they had been there, some streaking of darker brown across the muddy sand, the tiniest remnant of a divot. But as the water pulled deeper down away from the surface, that disappeared too. Uncle Kolezhny had died 2 weeks before, and although we weren't close, the image of his ancient body in the casket transfixed me. I kept wanting to see his chest rise and fall, expanding with the air. He died suddenly, but he was also 90. My own demise occurred across a short amount of time. 4 months, almost to the day, from diagnosis. This is me about a month before I received the news. Actually, this is me about a month and a half before I understood it. And 2 months before the news really started to sink in, when I could feel it in my body, in every part, like a sensation. The sensation of dying. Dying amid the resolution that I could beat it. I want to live to see my grandchildren grow up, I heard myself saying. The doctor hovering over me in the hospital bed that day said it could happen. It would be hard, but it could happen. But the downfall unraveled so fast, like an unexpected wave overtaking me. I was so surprised. One moment, It was a weakness in the legs, probably from the steroid they gave me for the brain metastasis. And the next moment, I could barely walk. I was so surprised. Then the appetite left me. I would lay in my bed and say, "Wow." I would spit out the food and reject the hot chocolate. "Wow," I would say when no one was around. "Wow," so quietly staring at the blank wall opposite me. It was an expression without inflection, without emphatic underscoring. The light of the television grew too much, and of course the curtains had to be drawn. I counted the hours I had spent curling and combing my hair, even days before they finally shaved it off. I grew so frail so quickly, and the warm hands would come and change my bedding, embrace me, recognizable voices, and finally the feeding tube, the drops under the tongue. I exited to Ave Maria. It was playing on the radio, distinct and clear. They were children singing. I remember it because I came to. The final push requires energy. You're taken up in the energy, the waves crashing. I abdicate, looking at those in the room, then up. I usually didn't wait to see the sun rising over the Atlantic, but preferred to wait. To wait until tomorrow, when the time was right, when I'd had enough rest, watching the waves crash into the beachhead of the Outer Banks.